The Girl in the Lewandowski Top, Chapter 3, Family. That weekend, after Archie had played for his football team and scored twice, he found himself at Betsy Aronson's house, somewhere he had never expected to be invited to, but here he was. It was evening. Betsy's dad was working the barbecue. Archie's own dad was helping, burgers, sausages, and a pot of something deep red and bubbling. "What is it?" Archie asked Betsy's dad. He was staying close to the adults, as he felt shy of Betsy and the Ukrainian guests. Also, he noticed Miroslava and Ali Khan were watching something on Miroslava's phone. Borscht is like a kind of soup. It's a special Ukrainian dish. "Do you want some?" "Yes, please," Archie said. He was ravenous. So, after enjoying his borscht, he hung around the barbecue, hoping to be offered some more, until he felt something nudge against his ankle. He looked down, half expecting to see his dog, Jim, at his feet. But then he realised they'd not brought Jim, because Jim never behaved well at barbecues. No, it was a football that had rolled against his ankle. Archie looked up to see Miroslava smiling and wearing, as always, her Lewandowski Poland top. "We play?" She smiled, glancing back at the long, lush green lawn that fell away from the house. Archie nodded enthusiastically and they played. Short passes on the lawn, further and further apart until they were hoofing it from one end of the long lawn to the other, laughing. Miroslava's passes were pinpoint accurate, better than Archie's. She was a pleasure to play football with. The other adults and children were all chatting near the barbecue when it happened. The ringtone loud across the garden. Archie watched Miroslava stop to stare at her mum, his pass rolling beyond her feet and into the rose bushes. Archie also saw that Ali Khan had dropped his plastic cup, spilling the contents onto the patio. He was standing still. Miroslava's mum fumbled frantically at her phone, pressing it to her ear. "Привет, привет, Alexander, Alexander." Silence in the garden. It seemed that even the birds had stopped singing, waiting to hear the voice down the line. But then Miroslava's mum's face dropped and she stared at the screen. She said, "It is cut off." The woman looked broken. Her whole body slumped as if she might fall onto the floor. Archie had no doubt that the call had come from Ukraine, that it was Miroslava's dad, or someone on her dad's phone if it wasn't the dad himself. And Archie remembered what his dad had told him the night before about why Miroslava's dad had stayed in Ukraine. When Miroslava's family left home, his father had to stay in Ukraine, Dad had told him. Why? To fight. All men between 18 and 60 have to stay. They were given weapons and deployed to fight against the Russians, defend Ukraine. "Is he a soldier then?" Archie asked. No, he was a teacher too, like Miroslava's mum. They were both teachers. They give teachers guns. Dad had nodded. His name is Alexander. He is fighting near Kharkiv. It's very near the border with Russia. He is in the trenches, like during the First World War. Archie couldn't believe it. He imagined his teachers with guns crouching in the mud as an unseen enemy fired missiles at them. "She's not heard from her husband for a few days," Dad went on. "She's worried. He used to phone at least every other day. Before they escaped the war." 2 minutes after the call had come in, Miroslava's mum was still staring at her screen. No one had spoken since. Betsy's dad had turned down the barbecue. And then the same ringtone again. Miroslava's mum pressed the phone to her ear, turned her back to the rest of the people in the garden and spoke loudly the name of her husband again. "Alexander, Alexander." She listened, squatting on the floor, turning to summon her children to join her and smiling now, putting her thumb to the rest of the people at the barbecue to indicate that he was safe, pressing her speakerphone so her children could hear their father speak. Archie chose this point to go over to his dad and to slip his hand into his dad's hand. He'd not done this for years, since he was 7 or something, but he really wanted to hold his dad's hand. "Is that their dad?" he asked. Dad nodded, his face rigid. "Yes, he's safe. It's good news. Such good news." Archie and his dad left the barbecue as soon as they'd eaten. As they went, Miroslava had been looking at her phone, and Archie wondered again what it was she was watching. Lewandowski goals, or maybe The Simpsons. He had no idea. Best leave it to them, Dad said to Archie as they walked home. Their dad is still in Kharkiv. He's alive, but the war is at its fiercest. I can't imagine how they feel. Archie frowned. Is he safe? Not really, Dad admitted. The Ukrainians are defending the city, but the Russians are pounding them with shells and they're under fire all the time. They turned a corner, smelling cut grass. Someone was mowing a lawn. But he's a teacher, Archie said. He shouldn't be at war. All the men are fighting. Dads, sons, granddads even. Dad told Archie. Some women, I think there are 1 million teachers, shopkeepers, taxi drivers, office workers, all lined up defending their country. Archie tried to picture it. He couldn't. What's Kharkiv like, Dad? Huge, Dad said. Bigger than all the UK cities apart from London. It's a very important place. But what's it like now? Like Miroslava's house? Is that okay? The school, the shops, the football pitches, what are they like? When we get home, Dad said, I'll show you some pictures if you like. There are photographers out there who take pictures of war, of people, what happens to them. We could look at some of the photographs. Another question came into Archie's head. Do people mind? Mind what? Dad asked. Being photographed. I don't know, Dad replied carefully. Maybe we should find out too, but listen, I promised Ali Khan that he could walk the dog with us tomorrow. He loves dogs and he misses his. That's something good we could do. Where's Ali Khan's dog now? Archie said. I don't know, Dad replied. And that's the end of chapter 3. Thank you again for listening.